could have given up, but you didn't. You could have stopped believing, but you didn't. You could have kept living their expectations, but you decided to make this life your own. And in turn, you're here. Hello, everyone. Today we're meeting James Smith. He is a church consultant, speaker, and also an author of books. Hi, James. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so very much, and it's good to be with you.
Thank you. Let's start our conversation by diving into your personal journey. How did you become the person you are today? Let's see what are the major events that probably happened in your life that led you to the path of discovering your true passion in life?
Well, I must say that began my journey by going to law school because I thought that's what I wanted to be. And I became a lawyer, practiced law for about 10 years. But in the process, I was gambling. So I ended up committing a serious crime. As a matter of fact, I robbed a bank. And I was sent to the mental hospital. And then after being sent to the mental hospital, I came out and I went to court and pleaded guilty to the crime. And I got a 15-year sentence, of which I spent 5 years in prison. I got out and trying to figure out what my calling was and what I should be doing. And I meditated, and the Lord started working with me, and I decided to go to seminary. Went to seminary and received my master's of divinity degree, my doctor of ministry, and also then about a year or two after, I got called to a traditional missionary Baptist church here in Durham County, where I pastored for almost 32 years. I just retired at the end of the past year. So that's kind of where I am. The calling was as a result of just my really just being very regretful and remorseful of what I had done, praying about it, asking for forgiveness, and just meditating. And then I thought I had so much to offer, and the Lord working with me made me really feel that way that I did. And that was one of the reasons I decided to go to seminary, and then was called a pastor. So that's kind of my life journey. I'm just like any other young man who had ambition, and I had lots of ambition. And I determined when I went to undergraduate school that I wanted to continue on and be a lawyer, and that's what I became, the youngest lawyer at the time, African-American lawyer practicing law in my hometown. And as a matter of fact, the first in my hometown and the youngest at that time in the state of North Carolina. So that was my journey, and I was very proud of what I was doing, but I had a gambling problem that kind of got the best of me. And that's where I landed.
Right. So even though you had that traumatic past, and you still found something that kind of some kind of lesson for yourself, and you realize that you're here to do something more, to give more to people. And also you knew that there are people out there that could help you to get out of that situation, that you're not lost. Who were those people for you? Who helped you and supported you?
Well, the first person was my mom, and she is deceased now, but I remember very well when I first got out, she gave me some good advice. She told me, she said, son, now you can go and lie down in the ditch if you want to, or you can put your face in the sand if you want to. All folk are gonna do is just come by and kick more dirt on you or rub your face deeper in the sand. But if you would just get up and forget all about what has happened to you and move forward. There'll be folks who will help you. So I had quite a few mentors along the way. I had practiced law, so I had a lot of good friends, lawyers who are still my friends. And of course, I had ministers who really were very helpful. And as a result of all of this, I just felt like, look, I'm going to make it. And that has been what happened to me was in 1981. And of course, I got out in 1986. And of course, my journey forward has been forward, if I may put it that way, ever since. But it was because of just good mentors that I still have right now. A gentleman who is a minister is weekly now, age, but he's still my mentor. And we talk on a very regular basis. And of course, that's, how I credit a lot to where I am now. He recommended me to the church that I pastored for almost 32 years. And I know that a lot of things that happened to me are a result of people who were there for me, who gave me good advice, and who were just awesome individuals in my life. And I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, sure. And there are people out there who are willing to help you. And for those who are in the same shoes that you were before, they kind of like feeling that, this is the end, there's nothing they can do, but there's always light in the end of the tunnel. But to see that light, you have to be willing to kind of see the other opportunities. And I know that you've been also giving seminars to inmates as well. And you've seen people, taking the wrong path. And what would be your advice for those who are still young and exploring, but they don't want to end up, in that kind of trouble situation? What do you think they should be focusing on?
I would advise young people, first of all, to try to stay away from bad habits. That's important. Sometimes we get into situations and then we become overwhelmed at it, and it begins to bring us down. That's what happened to me. The gambling, had I not been involved with gambling, I personally don't think I would have ended up in the situation that I was in. So that's one thing. The other thing, I would just say to them is, be cautious of your company. Make certain that you surround yourself with people who are going places, with folks who have good character, who have good moral values. And if you do that, then, you're going to basically make it. And of course, it's always good to stay involved in good activities. Growing up outside of youth, find you a good sport that you can play and enjoy yourself that way, and stay away from the bad company is what I would really say to somebody a young person who is on their path and wants to find their way in life.
Right. And with that in mind, we have to kind of realize that people that we hang out with, those people affect us as well on a deeper level. So we have to be mindful who we're choosing to talk to on a daily basis and what are those people doing. So you have to kind of protect yourself. You have to, kind of put yourself as a priority, your mental and physical health and all of that. comes in, like you said, daily habits. So what are you doing every day that brings you to the goal in your life? And having something in mind that you enjoy, like some kind of sport that you play or some kind of work that you like, it's a better way of focusing that energy other than, just kind of being lost and not knowing what to do. Because you have to make sure that the people you're talking to giving you good advice. So also, like, surround yourself with those who are already in the place where you want to be. Also, that's important, and it's kind of like it helps you to move forward. Don't you agree?
Yeah, sure, I agree. Sure, I agree. I will tell anybody, that the company that you keep will have a lot of effect upon what you do. So I tell people that all the time. Be very mindful of the company you keep. We have two children. Of course, they're all grown now, and I've shared the same thing to them. Be mindful of who you're around all the time. Be mindful of those individuals, what they do, and if you see them involved in things that that's not good, you might have to cut ties. That's just the way it is. If you don't want to go down with them,
Right. And also, if we're all human beings. Sometimes we make mistakes, and we should realize that it's still we are a work in progress. But with us kind of realizing and accepting that was a mistake and learning something from it, it's a very important step in our development. And I feel like sometimes people just end up in bad situation, and also they not trying to help themselves, and they feeling stuck, and they feel like this is the end, but it's not. So I know you also wrote a book, Deal by Me, and I just want you to kind of tell us about what inspired you to write that book, and what is it about?
well, tell you what, it really didn't start off as a book. I had no intentions of writing a book. I was confined, and it started off as more or less a journal and therapy for me to just write. How did this happen to me? How did I go from this successful lawyer, youngest lawyer in the state of North Carolina when I first started practicing law, the first and only African American lawyer in my hometown at that time? How did I go from there to where I am here sitting in this jail cell? So I began to kind of write, what happened, how what happened, and everything. And I had finished a big, probably 300 pages of just, it would be a manuscript, you would call it now. I left. When I got out, I had it around the house. I made some copies and gave it to my mom and some other relatives. So I just had a couple of copies. I didn't know what may happen. And eventually, probably about 5 or maybe 6 years afterwards, I had my cousin and somebody was reading, a couple of friends was reading it, and they said, "Why don't you? This is information. You need to write a book, and so you need to just turn this into a book." So that's what happened with that. It was just not anything that I had intended to do. It just happened as a result of folks telling me what I should do with the manuscript. So I did that. Now the second book, which is the my second edition of that book that I've just done within the last year. Now that was intended because I wanted to talk about what I learned from what I went through. The first book was basically I talked about, number one, my law practice, my gambling, my imprisonment, and of course, where I was at the time when I was writing, and I had started pastoring. So it talks about my conversion. So that's that first book. The second book, I talk about what I learned from what I went through. It's like my self-evaluation. That's what I call it. The Deal by Me, second edition, self-evaluations. Like I went through my whole life and tried to, how did all of this occur? And it's a very inspiring book. Of course, both of them I've gotten lots of comments on. But that's the reason. You know, if you ask me why I wrote it, that's what happened.
Right. So it kind of started with you mostly like reflecting and journaling and having that manuscript sent to your relatives and friends, and then it turned out to be a book.
Yeah.
And like with the second edition, I think it's more in depth in terms of like your thoughts and how you like evaluated yourself.
Yeah.
But I think it will be inspiring to those who are searching for answers to kind of like to know, like when you see or hear somebody else's story, you see all the steps that person took, and it's everything that happened, it happened for a reason, right? So it was a circumstance of you making a decision. And that's what we need to realize, that we are in charge of our lives and we are making those decisions, nobody else but us.
I agree.
And the circumstances that we get is based on that decision, either negative or positive, how you want to label it. But in the end, if you own everything in your life that you've been through, you can change it. You're the one who can change it as well. You don't have to be a victim of the circumstances.
I agree.
So, yeah. And
I
I just
agree.
wanted to ask you, maybe you have some plans in mind for the next 3-5 years. Where do you see yourself going?
Well, I retired after almost 32 years, like in 2 months of being 32 years at the same church, traditional Missionary Baptist Church here in Durham County, with the attendance on Sunday morning of around average between 75 and 100 people, membership at about 200. So it was a really great church. And so when I retired, I said to them that I'm retiring from the pastorate, but not from the ministry. And so what I did about maybe 3 months prior to December, the last December past year, I started a podcast. And I'm doing a podcast that is going very well. And the reason I did it because I wanted to, I named it "Tell Us Your Story," and I wanted to be encouraging, inspiring, and transforming. And my thought was, if I could get people to share their experiences and the events in their lives that would be a benefit to someone else, then that's the ministry. And of course, and that's what I ask everybody who comes on my podcast. And so I'm doing that now, enjoying it. Little work. I average doing about 3 or 4 a week. And but I'm enjoying it. So that's where I am right now. I also do seminars. I became certified in-prison seminar instructor. So I was doing seminars 5 years at Federal Correctional Institution. But then because I have a legal background, the North Carolina State Bar allowed me to teach continuing legal education, mental health and substance abuse. So I taught that to lawyers for 11 years, and I just gave that up just when COVID came in because I was traveling all over the state. So with the General Baptist State Convention, I was at one point the moderator of moderators. And because I had a legal background, the president wanted me to work with churches that dealt with conflict. So I started doing lots of workshops. And so I still do that now. I have churches, all over that'll call me and go on my website and asking for help, or either call me in to do a workshop or what have you. So that's what I'm doing, and along with the podcast, enjoying it, having a good time.
That's great. That's what we meant to do, to enjoy what we're doing, and also like sharing our perspective on life and what we learned. And again, like bringing people to your show, it will also enhance that message to those who are listening. And what's the name of your podcast? Tell your story.
Deal by Me podcast.
Oh, Deal by Me. All right. So people can check it out.
Yeah, named after the book, Deal by Me podcast.
Nice. Yeah, that's perfect. And I feel like that's a new endeavor for you, and it could grow into something even bigger than you expected. So you never know. Yeah, that's what I usually tell others, to kind of like see what you joyful, like what brings you that joy, that sense of fulfillment, and you have to just start doing that. And sometimes you don't know how it's gonna end up, but with you taking action, those small steps toward that direction, something could just come to your awareness before you even knew. So that's something to keep in mind, to always be willing to kind of search for what's bringing you that joy.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. And is there any advice that you'd like to give to people who are still searching for their passion in life? Or what would be just, one daily habit that they could incorporate in their life that will kind of like help them to be open to see those opportunities?
Well, I would say, feel like you can do it. That's, some people just don't feel like they can do it. They want to do it, but they just don't feel as if I can do it. I believe that that's the first thing that you need to think about. I can do this. Now, you might have some challenges along the way, but you still want to say, I can do this. And the other thing is to have faith in yourself. I guess that goes along with I can do it, but have faith in yourself. I've always had the faith, and don't I'm a very faith oriented. Perhaps I should say that. I don't like to talk about I'm religious, because a lot of people are religious, but I like to talk about being faith oriented, and so. I think that's important. And then just go for it, and if you've gone through something like I've gone through, confinement, and just face it head on. People ask me all the time, how did you get called to your church? With my background, and especially in the Missionary Baptist Church, that does not happen, but I got called and I was upfront. I was honest. This is what happened to me. I wish it had not happened. I regret it. I'm so sorry. I wish I could do it over again, but I can't. But I'm a different person now. I'm no longer gambling. I'm no longer doing all those crazy things that I used to do. My life has changed. And I was compelling and I was convincing. And my church took that chance on me, and I stayed there for almost 32 years. So that's what I tell people. You have to do the same thing. Now, while I'm talking about this, let me share with you, in my second book, when I talked about a self-evaluation, Deal by Me, second edition of self-evaluation, I came to the conclusion that I didn't rob the bank because I was a compulsive gambler. I stated that in my first book, but I came to the conclusion after I did my self-evaluation, and this is what you have to do sometimes, that I robbed the bank because I was afraid of failure. I had become this prominent lawyer. I was doing well, but my gambling was getting the best of me. I was losing money. I was going downhill. I thought I was getting ready to go bankrupt, and I didn't want to give it up. And I thought that if I did this, got some money, I could pay off these little debts, and I'd be right back where I was. Crazy thinking, but that's the way I was thinking. So, and I tell other people, face it head on, deal with it, and move forward. Don't let anything stop you from moving forward, because if you let other people stop you, you will be you won't make it. So you got to just go for it.
Right. And having that self-confidence, sometimes it doesn't come easily, but with you taking first small steps, you will see that it's possible.
Mhm.
You see, you just did it. This is your evidence. You can do it.
Mhm.
So you can go further and further. And like you said, there is nothing, no obstacle that would prevent you from getting where you want to go. And being honest with yourself, with others, that's important to kind of like take into consideration, because we can all feel if something is off with that person is not honest. If you want to build relationship, to build career or like your business, you have to be honest. And it had just one of the values that you have to kind of like practice all the time. And it should be part of you. It shouldn't be like making any effort. It's just who you are.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Yes. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and thoughts. And
Well,
it was a
thank you.
pleasure talking to you.
Thank you for having me.
Sure. And I hope you enjoy your day.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Bye. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you did, hit the subscribe button and share it with others. Stay tuned.